During my high school years, I went through something truly terrifying. At that time, I was already on the path of intense academic pressure. Honestly, I hated studying, especially under such stress. It left me feeling lost and confused. But despite all that, I still asked my parents to let me attend extra tutoring classes to strengthen my studies. I knew that getting into a good university was the shortcut to climbing the social ladder, so I began a routine of going to tutoring classes every evening. After school, I headed straight there, and usually, the classes ended after 9 at night. One day, just like any other, I came home after class, then got ready to leave for tutoring again. I must have been too tired because I lay down to rest and accidentally fell asleep. That night, I had a strange, vivid dream. In the dream, it was past 9 at night. Like usual, I finished studying and was riding my bike home from the tutoring center, trying to avoid the main road. I took a shortcut, a small path beside a drainage ditch near my house. Normally, that area was quiet, with barely any cars or people at night. On top of that, they had been reinstalling street lighting, so the path was left in total darkness. Just as I was about to turn onto that path, rain started coming down, and I quickened my pace to get through it faster. Once I entered the path, I saw a shadowy figure walking towards me in the distance. Because of the poor lighting, I couldn't make out who it was until I got closer. Then I saw MacLeod in a yellow raincoat. As I rode past him, suddenly he shoved me hard. The force knocked me off balance, and I stopped abruptly. The man immediately turned and charged at me, and in his hand, I saw a knife. Startled and frozen with fear, I had no time to dodge or run. Just as the knife was about to stab into me, I woke up. Maybe because I rarely had nightmares, that dream left a deep impression on me. I still remember how bad and uneasy I felt waking up. Then I glanced at the clock. I was about to be late for tutoring, so I hurriedly grabbed my backpack and left. I completely forgot about the dream until that night, around 9 o'clock, when I left the tutoring center and rode my bike home. Just as I approached the fork leading to the drainage ditch path, it started to rain again. Something about the situation struck me as eerily familiar. Suddenly, the nightmare came rushing back to me, and I felt an unsettling chill. With a sense of dread, I turned onto that path anyway. In the distance ahead, I spotted a figure walking towards me. Though it seemed like a coincidence, the scene was exactly like the dream. My heart pounded in confusion and anxiety. I stopped and hesitated. Just then, a man in office clothes rode his bicycle past me. Tensing up, I followed him slowly. I watched as he pulled ahead and approached the figure. As the office worker got closer, that shadow suddenly shoved him hard. The man fell off his bike. I stopped my bike a short distance away and watched. The office worker jumped back up, shouting curses at the shadowy figure. The person who pushed him pulled something from behind his waist. Seeing that, the office worker abandoned his bike and ran away. Then the attacker turned and spotted me. He charged at me fast. That's when I truly felt the danger, the racing of my heart. Shortness of breath. Terror made me freeze, unsure how my body should move. As he got closer, I could clearly see it, the middle-aged man, a yellow raincoat from my dream. His face twisted into a cruel snarl, a knife gripped tightly in his hand, rushing at me with murderous intent. And as he came, I heard him muttering to himself, not how it was in the dream. Hearing those words shocked me. Without thinking, I spun around, screaming out loud, and pedaled with all my strength to escape. I fled in a panic to the nearby police station and barged inside, trembling, unsoaked with a mix of rain and sweat. I told the officers what had just happened. They sent people to check the spot immediately. Wrapped in a towel inside the station, I waited anxiously for my parents. Not long after, the police reported back no sign of the attacker. but they found the bicycle abandoned by the office worker. My parents arrived soon after. After filing the report, the officer told them to take me home. That night, the shadow had vanished, but its chilling presence lingered long after. In the days that followed, the police also came by to visit Guan's Inn at my home. They found that office worker and returned his bicycle. I heard the man was pretty shaken up but otherwise unharmed. The police gathered a general description of the feather-clad man, but despite their efforts, they never caught him. After that experience, I developed an inexplicable nervousness whenever strangers passed by me. To this day, when I think back to that incident, the dream, the man's face, his voice, I can't forget it. I don't understand why I had that dream. And the phrase the feathered man muttered, how is this different from the dream? The deep meaning behind those words still chills me to the bone. It baffles me even now. A few years back, my husband worked doing hair and makeup for men who worked in nightclubs and entertainment clubs. What I'm about to tell you is the terrifying experience both of us went through. Maybe you've heard the legend people say that places near water or by the water supernatural encounters. Somehow, these stories always feel true. My husband has years of experience in beauty and hairdressing. Haunted or strange experiences at salons were almost routine for him. His work involved frequent use of water, and since hair involves close contact, almost every stylist around him had some kind of unexplainable encounter. So when setting up a new salon or cleaning the space, if he felt eyes watching him or sensed some presence, it didn't surprise him. She'd think, here we go again, and calmly continue working. But even he had moments where terror overwhelmed him, and he ran out of the salon in fear. Once, his friend invited him to work at a hair salon on the Kabukicho in Shinwocha. This place was unlike usual hair salons. The customers were all men working at nightclubs or clubs, so the operating hours ran later than normal salons. The salon was small, usually only one stylist on duty at a time. He thought the hours would fit well with his daytime job. He could do both, so he agreed. But he was a bit suspicious because as soon as he said yes, his friend immediately gave him a fixed start date, seeming desperate to have him there. What was strange, though, was that the salon already had several stylists on staff. They shouldn't have been in a rush to hire him. Still, with this doubt lingering, he showed up on his first day. His friend took him to the shop, which was in a basement. The moment he stepped onto the stairs, he felt something brush past the back of his neck. As he descended step by step, his skin ivory broke out in goosebumps. Upon walking inside, he was hit with the mixed smell of sewers and burned hair, the kind you find in older, crowded apartment buildings. Even for him, accustomed to sensing spirits, the atmosphere felt strange. He could feel something unseen present in the room. After his friend showed him the setup and tools, he handed over the shop to him and left. My husband was alone behind the counter, scrolling on his phone, waiting for customers. After a while, the mechanical chime of the doorbell rang. He looked up from his phone toward the entrance, but there was no one there, and the door was shut tight. He was puzzled. The doorbell definitely rang just now. Was he imagining things? Just then, his eyes casually caught a reflection in a mirror. There, in the glass, was the silhouette of a woman. He jumped in fright and quickly turned to look, but no one was there. Suppressing his rising fear, he thought, this place is dangerous. I can't stay here alone. He grabbed his phone to leave, planning to go upstairs to the street. But when he stood up, something stopped him. His left foot wouldn't lift. Looking down, he saw his foot entangled in a mass of hair. Panicked, he screamed and jumped away. But in that instant of terror, the hair around his foot vanished, as if it was just a hallucination. He hadn't expected to face such an unbearable horror on his very first day, so he didn't want to spend another second in that salon. He closed up shop early that day, practically fleeing. He was so scared. Even locking the door felt terrifying. He didn't even turn off the lights. He just locked the door and left. The echo of that fear still lingers, like the shadow that vanished at night but left its chilling presence behind. Leaving the shop, he stepped onto the bustling street and called the friend who had helped him find the job. The moment the call connected, before he could say a word, the friend asked, "Did you see it too?" He couldn't answer, only fell silent. But the friend went on, "Sooner or later, you'll start hearing noises on the stairs." He asked, "What is going on there exactly?" The friend said, "Nothing really happened there, no accidents or anything. It's just that something tends to gather there." He pressed, "What kind of things gather there?" The friend's voice turned cool and vague. "Women." Later, the friend told him about all the strange incidents that had happened at the shop. The mechanical chime from the shop door, the kind that plays when you open it, started ringing by itself more and more often. They replaced it early on, but that eerie mechanical music never stopped. Then, there were sightings of women in the mirrors. Many people experienced it, and those who did said the number of women they saw seemed to grow steadily. Also, on certain weeks each month, people would hear something falling down the stairs leading into the shop. Every month during that week, everyone grew scared and didn't want to go to work. That's why they arranged for him to come in early to avoid it all. After hearing this, he came to find me that very day, his mood thick with discomfort and unease. We weren't married yet and didn't live together, but he often stopped by after work. That day, when he arrived, he told me everything about the strange happenings. Not knowing much about the supernatural, I just listened, nodding, not really taking it seriously. After a while, his mood calmed a little, so he left. When I saw him out and was about to close the front door, I noticed a large clump of hair on the floor. Since he worked at a hair salon, hair often got stuck on his clothes and fell off here and there. I didn't think much of it. I just grabbed a slipper by the door to sweep the hair outside. But the terrifying part, from that day on, I began seeing frightening things all the time. At night, sometimes the doorbell would ring. I'd look through the intercom and see a strange woman standing at my door. But when I opened it, no one was there. There were nights I was coming home from outside, and right near my apartment, I'd see a woman standing outside my door. Then, in the blink of an eye, she would vanish. I was terrified. It wasn't until I moved that these terrifying things finally stopped. I wonder now if that woman was some strange thing my husband unknowingly brought home from work that day. When I was in elementary school, my grandparents lived in a rural town next door. They were very kind to me and often secretly gave me pocket money. I often took the bus alone to visit them. One summer vacation, one vacation, when I was in 4th grade, my parents wanted me to attend tutoring classes, but I really didn't want to. So, I ran off and stayed with my grandparents instead. My parents gave up and let me spend the break there. Life in the countryside was calm. I helped with chores in the fields and spent the rest of the time playing on my own. I often took the bus to the station to buy snacks or watch people play arcade games. About a week into staying at my grandparents' place, one evening as dusk was falling, I took the bus back from the station. When I got off near their house, the sky had started darkening. The path from the bus stop to their house was a dirt road through fields, not much lit, but not scary at all. On the way home, I passed by a shrine. The torii gate stood at the roadside, and beyond it, a path flanked by dense trees led to the main shrine building. For some reason, local kids avoided going near that shrine, but I often went there alone in the afternoons. It was quiet and comfortable. Sometimes I even saw beautiful birds and squirrels. It was a nice place. That day, as I got off the bus and walked toward the shrine's torii, enjoying the breeze, I suddenly saw something strange far ahead on the path. Something round like a basketball was bouncing on the ground, but it wasn't rolling. It bounced straight up and down, reaching the height of the telephone pole. The sight was so unnatural that it immediately sent a chill down my spine. But since it was already dark, under the faint glow of the streetlight, all I could see was that round black shape slowly bouncing toward me in the distance. At first, I was curious. It felt almost novel, like something out of a weird dream. But as it got closer and closer, unease began creeping in. I stood in front of the Torii gate, trying to figure out what it could be. Then, just as I was lost in thought, I heard a low voice calling my name. I looked around. There was no one else nearby. No clue where the voice came from. And yet, that round black shape kept slowly bouncing toward me. Then, again, the voice called my name. My scalp went numb all of a sudden. Could that sound actually be coming from the black sphere? I stared at it, trying to steady my racing heart. Then I noticed something strange. As it bounced, the thing began to unravel. Each time it hit the ground, long, thin black strands fanned out further and further. After a few bounces, it got close enough for me to see clearly. What I saw made my blood run cold. The thing had completely changed. It was no longer just a ball. I felt fear start to wash over me. Its bounces grew lower, and its speed quickened. When it was about 50 meters away, I finally recognized those black strands' hair, and inside that tangled mass, glimpses of something pale white. I focused hard. That pale something was a face. It was calling my name, getting closer, bouncing toward me. I screamed, heart pounding, and bolted toward the shrine. As I ran, that voice calling my name grew louder behind me. Finally, I reached the main hall of the shrine and slipped behind to hide. There, I heard the voice drawing closer. My whole body trembled as I hugged my shaking legs and tried not to move. Then, suddenly, the voice stopped. I dared to hope maybe it had left. But then, from in front of me came that low voice again. I found you. Cold sweat dripped down my face. Slowly, strands of hair appeared from the side of the wing. Inch by inch, through the gaps in that mess of hair, I glimpsed a deathly pale face. It revealed half its face. Those eyes locked on me. At that instant, a sharp, piercing high-pitched sound filled my ears. Then I felt it. My body was bound tight. Impossible to move. Frozen. I could only watch helplessly as the head emerged fully from behind the side wing. It floated closer and closer, just as I thought I was done for. Right before those hair strands almost touched me suddenly, the bells above my head began jingling rapidly. In an instant, everything went black. I lost consciousness, like falling asleep. When I woke up, I was wrapped in my blanket at home. My grandparents sat beside me, worry written all over their faces. Later, I learned it had been found lying unconscious in front of the shrine's Torii gate. I told them everything. They warned me never to go near the shrine again. Though it faced something terrifying, I was psychologically scarred. So later on, I still sneaked off to sleep near the shrine sometimes. Of course, I never encountered anything frightening again. One time while I was there,